Eddie wants to allow one signal per direction, right? Yeah, so sometimes with these opening range systems, right, quite often, the market will break out one way and then it reverses and goes to the other side of the opening range and then crosses that, and so you get a signal long, and then later on during the day you might get a short signal. So all right, so that's what Eddie wants. So just a moment while I get my chart prepared here. So there we go. All right, so we're allowing one signal per direction. There. All right. So yeah, give me another moment here to get my opening range indicator set up. All right, so for the opening range, I'm going to use the lizard indicator opening range. So that's the only one that I know of so far. All right, opening range. Let's see, cool. Yeah, we can actually select a time zone, and there we go. So we can put in an opening range, and you know what? I'm going to make this a short opening range there, 30-minute opening range, just so I can hopefully get more signals on both sides of the range. Let's see, show regular open show. All right, I think that should do it. All right, you know what? I'm going to switch over to a minute chart because there's just too many range bars. There we go. Let's see. All right. Well, today, yeah, we're a bit of a down day today. So let's see if yesterday has a breakout. No, yesterday was a down day too. Let's see. So this would be Tuesday, I believe, and that was an up day. All right, let's try last week. There we go. Great. All right, so it looks like Thursday of last week shows us what we want to see. So yeah, there we go. So we get a close, a breakout short, and then a breakout long. Perfect. All right, so now we can start building. So, all right, so what you're doing with the opening range breakout system, right, is you're comparing the closing price of the bar to the lower range, and you're comparing the close of the bar to the upper range, right? To see if the close is below the lower or if the close of the bar is above the upper range, right? So that's a comparison solver. So let's grab a comparison solver, connect that in, and so we're comparing the close of the bar, right, to the opening range or open range indicator there. And All right, so let's see. Input A will be the price, right? The closing price of the bars. And then input B will be the opening range indicator. And there we go. There's our opening range indicator. All right, yeah, pretty sure I'll have to double check my settings, but I think, yeah, there we go, 9:30 to 10. Yeah. Okay, Eastern, great. All right, so really the only important thing is, yeah, the start time and end time. And yeah, okay. So now we need to figure out which plot are we looking at. So, all right, so it looks like the opening range high, right? That's going to be the upper range. So we're using, right, the upper range for a long signal for a long breakout. And the opening range low would be used for a short signal for those short breakouts. All right, that should do it. And there we go. All right. So whenever that close of the bar is below the lower range, right, short outputs, and when the closing price is above the upper range, long outputs. So there we go. So there's a bunch of signals there. So now we just need to basically isolate them or filter them so that we only see one signal per trade direction. Right. So let's add a signal blocker. There we go. Like so. Now, I am on a minute chart here. So I know that there's only 1440 minutes in a day. So that's, the maximum number of bars I need to block for. Because, yeah, who knows? You might get some weird kind of day where this does happen, where the market just sits inside the range, and and you don't get a breakout for quite some time, or the market might just break out immediately and generate a signal, as soon as possible. And so, yeah, so if the market breaks out as soon as possible, then you need the signal block to block longer, versus if the market sits inside the range and breaks out later. So, yeah. So again, this number is important to set it to a high enough value, where you're not going to accidentally see, signals afterwards. So, all right, let's see here. And so the next thing is, let's set the blocked output to 2 or 0.2. Sorry. So yeah, so here we can see. Let's go all the way back to the beginning of the chart. There we go. There. Okay, so there's our first signal on the chart, right? So we get a short, and we can see the signal blocker is actively blocking, right? We get that little short output, and it's actively blocking. And so here we are the next day. All right, so here's the new opening range right here. Right, something like that. And look, the signal blocker is still actively blocking here. Right? So remember, look at the output. It's 0.2. So these are not signals. This is 0.2. So this is not a signal there. Just remember that NinjaTrader auto scales, right? The auto scales the y-axis. So that's not a signal, right? There's no racing stripes. So we have the signal blocker actively blocking when we get a breakout. And then when the signal blocker stops blocking, because remember it's set to block for 1,440 bars, and then there's no breakout, right? So obviously we want to reset the signal blocker when we basically get to the morning open, or it's probably safer to reset at the morning open versus resetting the signal blocker at the end of the opening range. Because what if you go in and adjust your opening range, but you forget to change your reset logic there, right? So we'll just reset it here, and that that'll cover any situation where you might decide to kind of test around different opening range periods, right? So just like we did with the previous question, let's see here. I can actually grab this solver that I had already made in one of the other questions and just drop it in there. And let's take a look. Yeah, see, so it is resetting 5 minutes before the market opens there. So we can use that. And let's slide this forward. There we go, so we can see everything. There we go. All right. So again, the signal blocker is actively blocking, so it's connecting the reset there. And there we go. So we can see the signal blocker gets turned off, right? Based on our, let's see, what is this? A threshold solver, right? So since this was built in a previous question, I need to explain it for the recording here, right? So this is a threshold solver, and it's using the time block indicator. So let's take a look at the time block indicator, right? And again, that is inside the Shark Indicators tools, and there it is, right? Shark Indicators tools, and there's the time block, right? So the time block indicator does not have a time zone setting, so you have to set this start time to whatever your local computer time is, right? So if you download this, off the website, you will have to go in and adjust this for your time zone there. So so if you want to set this up for Eastern time, so if you're on Eastern time, then you need to adjust it from 7 to 9, right? 9:30 in the morning. So we're using the time block indicator, and let's make sure that is checked. There we go. And so we're using this start bar, right? The start bar is the start time, right? So the 7:25 bar is what we're looking for, right? So if we take a look at our threshold solver, right, that's what it's marking as the 7:25 bar before the market opens, right? And then the other thing is you have to go into the threshold settings. So and adjust that. So let me back up here. So the time block is outputting true or false, right? A bool series is true or false. So, right, 0 or 1, right? So these are not numbers, so number 5 would not, wouldn't make any sense for identifying, the start time there. So it's a true or false statement. So we need to set the threshold settings up to look for a true or false settings here. So let's open up the rules window. And so this is what we're looking for. So when the time block output equals 1, 1 is true, 0 would be false. So if you're looking for a false, then you'd be, looking for 0 here. But we're looking for true, so we're using the equal condition there to look for a 1. Right? So there we go. So for the long and for the short, we want to equal 1, which means that the time block indicator equals true on the 725 bar. So there we go. So this 725 bar is resetting our signal blocker, right? And we can see that because the active signal is turned off, right? So that's why it's always a good idea to use this active blocking output here and set it to something like 0.1, 0.2, something minor, so that you can see it, but it doesn't confuse you that it might be an actual signal there. So remember, if it's a signal, you get the racing stripe. So there we go. Our signal blocker gets reset or turned off, and now it's ready for the next signal to come in. And so let's see, let's scroll through here. Let's see, I thought, oh no, let's see, it was a couple days back. Where was it? There we go. All right, I went too far back in time. So here's our day that generated a short signal, and then the market turned around and then generated a long signal. So there we go. One signal per day in opposite directions. So now, if you only want one signal per day full stop, then all it requires is a simple adjustment here. So to the signal blocker, we can say block opposite signals. So I can check on that, right? And let's see here. Let me double check. There we go. All right, so I need to get rid of the input opposite signals. So we only want to make sure that the only the reset signal is actually right. In other words, only the reset connection is resetting the signal blocker, right? So that's right. By default, the signal blocker allows the input connection, right? So the input connection can actually reset the signal blocker, but we probably should have turned that off to begin with there. So there we go. So now only the reset connection there. So this is right, this is the guy that's connected into the reset. So there we go. So now, right, that short signal comes in, and we can see that both long signals and short signals are actively being blocked now. Right, so again, that's the benefit of using this actively blocking output here, right, is you can see what is, which signal directions are being blocked. So now when this short comes in, the longs are being blocked along with the shorts. So now this long signal disappears. Right. So there you go. So you can check or uncheck that. So now with it unchecked, right? We can see the short signal comes, and now only short signals are being blocked. And then a long signal has to come in order to block a long signal as well. There. Okay. So that covers it for both of the typical ways that people like to look at an opening range system there. Sometimes just the first signal and ignore any opposite signal. And some people like to see both, one signal in each opposite direction if that happens.